appointment of a board member. So I'd like to request a motion to appoint Nikki Yu to complete the term vacated by Andy Croft ending December 31st, 2023. And then second. Back. Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, call roll. Lot.
Yes.
Bosler.
Yes.
Dickman.
Yes.
Smith. Motion carries. All right, if you will excuse me for a moment while I go get Nikki and let the others know.
We're in a conference room.
Congratulations. And when I cough, it's bronchitis. It's nothing contagious. You're great.
Okay, and the next order of business will be to administer the oath of office to Nikki. Please raise your right hand. Nikki, do you solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Ohio, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge your duties as a member of the Board of Education of Sydney City School District, Shelby County, Ohio, to the best of your ability, and in accordance with the laws now in effect and hereafter to be enacted during your continuance in said office, and until your successor is elected and qualified? If so, say I do. Thank you, congratulations.
Of course it is. Technology, you gotta always come. Okay, so I will get your login information.
Okay.
And Bob can talk to you all.
Sign here and stay in the box.
Stay in the box.
Someone
Did
over
not.
here did not.
Got it.
It's for the diplomas. Thanks.
No, I gotta get Nikki in worked out.
Nikki, you are.
And once I have her added, everybody will need to refresh, just to refresh up in the upper left, your screen so that her voting appears in your. got you in there correctly. That's your username, and then that's your password.
Oh, I like it.
You have to use it after. Highlight is where we're at.
Okay.
What's coming next.
Okay.
I think it's 3 counts.
And then, there'll be, I'm not sure.
There's only 3 counts.
Once it's time.
Yeah.
Is additions, deletions, or changes to the organizational agenda.
And there are none.
Okay, so moving on, I would like to ask for nominations for the president of the City Schools Board of Education for 2022.
I would like to make a motion to elect Zach Boslet as president of the City Schools Board of Education for 2022.
A motion and a second, Bob,
Are there any other nominations?
any other nominations?
Hearing none, we'd like to request a motion to Zach Bosler as president of the City Schools Board of Education for 2022.
I'd like to make a motion to elect,
Oh, I thought you had to make the motion.
Not that I put some other places. I just need somebody to say the motion.
Oh,
I just need a motion, just like that.
just,
I move that we elect Zach Boslet
that's
as,
fine.
okay.
And the second? Second. Bob Smith. And we will take a vote. Lot,
Yes.
Smith. New,
Yes.
Dickman,
Yes.
Bosler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the nomination. Thank you for the votes. Mike, I'll lean on you a little bit for cadence if I go straight. As I get to see legs here, but,
Absolutely.
so next item would be, election of officers. I ask for nominations for vice president of the City School Board of Education for 2022. Can I have a motion to elect?
I'd like to make a motion to elect Rick Dickman as vice president of City Schools Board of Education for 2022.
Okay, we have a motion for Greg Dickman for vice president. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay.
We'll take a vote. Dickman?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at your name. Lot,
Yes.
New,
Yes.
Smith. Bosler.
Yes.
Dickman.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to the agenda, organizational items. Meeting dates for calendar year 2022. motion to set the Board of Education meeting dates for the calendar year 2022 per the attached schedule. Schedules before us.
And we have a motion,
So moved.
and second,
Second.
any discussion pertaining to the calendar?
We still haven't picked a March date. We still have not picked a March date.
That's going to be March days.
Should we do that now before we vote, yeah?
Sorry.
Should we choose the date before we vote?
Are you looking at the calendar at all?
So the third Monday is the 21st. What, I wonder why we didn't have that on.
Was it spring break?
The spring break's the next week.
Okay.
Oh, no, it is spring break.
That's why.
That's why, yes. And I will not be here. So that's why we didn't have it on.
So we just need to
You
choose.
can have one without me, I can have work as it is, so that's not a problem. But that's why we didn't have that on there.
And you talked about putting a week earlier.
Is the 14th okay with everyone?
No. I run another organization in Troy.
That's right.
It's on the second Monday.
And I meet on the first Monday with the Career Center.
Okay. Can we do Tuesday the 15th? Regular? Okay. So
Calendar, and the calendar includes it.
it's Tuesday the 15th, uh-huh.
Any other discussion? All right, we will call roll. Lyon,
Yes.
Hickman,
Yes.
Smith, New,
Yes.
Boswell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item, authorization to request tax advances. Motion to authorize the treasurer to request tax advances from the Shelby County Auditor as soon as funds are available for distribution for the calendar year 2022.
We have a motion,
So moved.
and second,
I'll second.
just a brief kind of explanation on this one, and a lot of us are follow. None of these are just housekeeping items that are required for us to appoint somebody each year to fulfill those duties. There's some of those being treasurer for obvious reasons, that this is needed so that we can get any tax that are collected in advance of final collection, where they would naturally just pay you for them, usually at least one, maybe two advances prior to that date. And this allows us the authority to do that. All right, we will take a vote. Lot,
Yes.
New,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Dickman,
Yes.
Boswell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next on the agenda, authorization to pay bills. I'd like to entertain a motion to authorize the treasurer to pay all bills up to $25,000 that are non-recurring and other recurring bills as they are presented, providing funds are appropriated and available, and report bills paid on a monthly basis to the Board of Education for the calendar year 2022.
We have a motion,
So moved.
Second.
And Mike, this is the one that used to be 10,000 a few years ago. We just upped it to 25, right?
right, yes. This, the $25,000 figure is a limit to which I can approve it if there happens to not be a purchase order in place, which from time to time does happen, but it's
we really rarely want that to happen. It's not the way it works. And if it's, so we see that, I need to bring it to the five of you for approval. All right, we will all vote. Dickman,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
New,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Boswell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, next, appointment of purchasing agent. I'd like to entertain a motion to appoint superintendent as purchasing agent for the city schools for the calendar year 2022.
And a motion, please.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
This is basically the checks and balance piece of finances, requires both Bob and I to sign all purchase orders. And we will call for the vote. Dickman,
Yes.
New,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
Boswell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on, appointment of investment officer. I request a motion to appoint the treasurer as investment officer with authority to invest any interim funds with the goal of maximizing revenue for city schools for the calendar year 2022.
And a second. Basically, for the information of the new board members, there are some really restricted things within the law for what we can invest in. So you're not gonna see us go out and do any kind of risky investing. And also the longest term, which we can have in 5 years. All for the vote. New,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Dickman,
Yes.
Boswell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item, the appointment of civil rights compliance officer. I'd like to entertain a motion to appoint Brooke Gessler and Janelle Love Allen as civil rights compliance officers for city schools for the calendar year 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Especially the same individuals that we had last year. And we'll call for the Dickman,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
New,
Yes.
Boswell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on, appointment of district grievance officer and assistant grievance officer. I'd like to entertain a motion to appoint the superintendent as district grievance officer and the curriculum director as assistant grievance officer for the calendar year 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
We're allowed to have positions in this one?
Yes.
Okay.
The statement was that we are in fact allowed to have positions in this one. Those are good.
If all things were very loud, there were two of these items that require specific named persons to hold those positions. And we will call for the vote. Lot,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
New,
Yes.
Dickman,
Yes.
Boswell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, appointment of suspension appeal and expulsion hearing officer. Entertaining a motion to appoint the superintendent as a suspension appeal and expulsion hearing officer for the curriculum director and the curriculum director as alternate hearing officer for the school year 2022-2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, any further discussion? If none, we're ready to vote.
New,
Yes.
Dickman,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Boswell.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item is the appointment of section 504 compliance officer. Ask ask for a motion to appoint Brooke Gessler and Janelle Love Allen as Section 504 compliance officers for the calendar year 2022.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I have just a quick overview of what the Section 504 compliance officer entails. My ignorance.
Thank you. My first board meeting, I asked the same question.
So the 504 officers, so, students, some students have IEP, some students have 504. So we have to have, by law, we have to have compliance officers in place to make sure that the 504 plans are being administered properly.
Can you guys talk up? I know Bob can't. You're forgiven. The rest of you need to talk up a little bit more, because I got old ears.
If you want to just restate that.
Yeah, so, sorry.
So the 504 compliance officer, we have students with IEPs, we have students with 504 plans. By law, we have to have 504 compliance officers within the district to make sure that those 504 plans are being administered properly.
Have these individuals been in charge of the 504 in the past?
Yes. Yeah.
So this would be a continuance of the current view we have. Correct. Any further discussion?
I think the special ed director has been in that position ever since I joined.
Right, because this 504 falls under IDEA.
Ready to vote?
You are.
Dickman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
New,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
Bosley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to board member representative appointments. Ask you to appoint the following representatives to the following roles. First being legislative liaison for the calendar year 2022. Who may want to do that? Actually, the role of this person would be to outline and summarize any legislation that would be relevant to our school district and the board itself. So is there a motion to appoint Greg Dickman to this,
No, we do them all together.
do them all together? Okay, all right, so we'll write down that, all right. Community Foundation Liaison for the calendar year 2022.
Yes.
Thank you, Greg. Hall of Honor representative for the 2022-2023 school year.
Last one, yes.
Okay, jumping in. Yeah. All right, Student Achievement Liaison for 2022-2023 school year. Thank you, Bob. Board Policy Liaison to speak for 2 individuals, for 2022 calendar year.
So it's 2 meetings a year,
Okay,
It's,
we can do that.
and I figured your schedule is probably a little flexible,
yes.
if you can do it.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so we have Michelle and Nikki. So, if we're all comfortable with that, just to summarize, entertain a motion to appoint Greg Dickman as legislative liaison, Greg Dickman as community foundation liaison, Greg Dickman as Hall of Honor representative, Bob Smith as student achievement liaison, and Michelle Lott and Nikki New for board policy liaisons for 2022. Is there a motion?
Second.
Michelle, motion to Greg, seconds. Any further discussion? Further discussion, we'll move to a vote.
Lot,
yes.
Dickman,
Yes.
New,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bosley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Way to step up, Greg, on legislative.
All right, moving on. Item K, appointment of Upper Valley Career Center Board Representative. I'd like to entertain a motion to appoint Bill Hankey as, to the UVCC Board of Education for a 3-year term expiring December 31st, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Greg motions, Michelle seconds. Any further discussion?
Bill does a good job for us.
Stated Bill does a good job for us. Any further discussion? All right, without further discussion, we're ready to vote.
Hickman,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
New,
Yes.
Bosler,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, moving on. This begins our regular session.
Correct.
Any additions, deletions, and/or changes to the regular agenda? If so,
Yeah, there is not.
there are none. With none, I'll entertain a motion. Is this a,
No, just.
Now, just a matter of public participation, if anybody wants to have anything they would like to
excellent, thank you.
contribute.
All right, moving on to the public participation portion, of the, do we have anyone that's,
Technical.
Tiffany?
Yeah, we have Nick Inman first.
Hello, my name is Nick Inman from Sydney, Ohio.
And give me 1 second, because we're allowed 3 minutes for this, so I just want to make sure we've got everything, good to go. Yeah, if you could just, state your name, your address, and then address the board, and we'll go from there.
Nick Inman, Sydney, Ohio, 4 Acre Avenue. I would like to welcome the new board members, Zach and Greg and Nikki, and hope that you guys, well, when I wrote this, it was before I knew that he was picking Nikki, but, and I hope that, excuse me, I would like to welcome the new board members, Zach and Greg and Nikki, and hope that the board researched their candidates and did background check, including, I'm sorry. I'm skipping all that. We as a school need to be very observant in understanding that change is good for Sydney. Sydney City Schools has so much civil litigation over civil rights, and now this newest issue with Bob's text message. He's going to continue costing us money by saying and doing inappropriate things. Even though I agree about the playlist could have probably been changed to see if there could have been a clean version. The terminology from a superintendent, a well-educated man, should have been a lot better than what it was. Under Bob Humble's leadership, there has been multiple incidences that has occurred with kids getting bullied, and racism and discrimination, misuse of money. It's time to get rid of what's holding Sydney back and restore what has already been broken. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick.
Next up, we have Deanne Clayton.
Good evening. My name's Deanne Clayton, and I'm from Troy. I'd like to welcome the new members to the board, and I wish you well. And Bob, I love that shirt. What I bring to the board tonight is I've held on to this for probably 8 months, and it's time for me to share it. These are the past evaluations of the current superintendent. I understand that there's a midterm evaluation coming up on the 16th of this month, and I want to submit this for the board's review before they do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Nikki, are there any others? concludes the public participation portion of the meeting.
So open it before Brent clicks his button.
The next item on the agenda is the public hearing on proposed 2022-2023 school calendars. We have 3 calendars that are being submitted to be reviewed, along with financial projections to go along with each. Go to the first session.
Okay, so, I have, we have what's called the local management committee, which is 5 administrators, 5 teachers. And we've been meeting over the last few months, to discuss several items, but the calendar's been, the hottest topic. And I've asked, we had a meeting yesterday, and I've asked Brooke and a couple of the teachers to come and present, especially the calendar, the one proposed calendar, and they're gonna address that with the one with the
Late start.
late starts. I couldn't think of the word I wanted to use. So we have Ms. Golden, and this is, whatever your name is, I can't remember. Amy. Amy Holcomb.
She just wrote that down, by the way, keeping that in the notes. So typically when we bring calendars before the board, there might be some questions and not a whole lot of conversation or dialogue around those. However, the proposed calendars that you have before you, I wanted to make certain that we had some teacher voices in the room because we are asking for 2-hour late starts. I believe it's the first Monday of some of the months that you have in there, which we have not asked for prior. And so I thought who best to lay the foundation and to express the need behind that than 2 of our teachers. Amy Baldoff is representing our lower grades, and Dina Golden, who currently teaches at SMS, is representing our upper grades. So I am going to turn it over to them. You're welcome.
Hello, everyone. Like she said, I feel so awkward with my back to the class. This is sorry about that. So I am Dina Golden, and I have taught in Sydney City Schools. This is my 24th year, and I've always been a middle school teacher. And some of you may know my husband as well. He teaches in the district. His name is Nish Golden. So we are definitely Sydney people. We have four children who we've put through the system. I know Mr. Dickman, I had one of your children, Colton. So with the calendar's proposal, the main issue for us and why we would like the 2 hours periodically, which is going to just accumulate to 8 hours right now in the entire year, is that precious gift of time. We thought it might clue you in a little bit more if you could maybe get a day in the life of us, so you maybe really have an idea of why the time is so necessary. And like she said, Amy is an elementary teacher, so although very similar, elementary teachers are obviously a little bit different in the structure of the day than what we are. And with this, it was decided last night that we would come. And my goal is just, I didn't want anything to be contrived or very structured or scripted. I just want to just come and talk to you. Even though it is us two voices, what we're about to say isn't atypical. It is very typical. We aren't the outliers. We aren't the ones that, whoa, really? This is really, we represent many. So you could have put almost any 2 other people up here and it would have been a very similar situation. So time, here it goes. I get up at 5:15, right? I get to work 6:15. The contractual day is at 7, but walking in at 7 is, this is literally impossible. There's just no way. So when I get there, obviously, emails, trying to copy, but no toner, so copying hasn't really been able to do that, right? So, if you can, you're a lucky one. But like me, I went to the UPS and spent $50 to get some copies. You're doing communication with other colleagues via email, parents, preparing for the day, getting your Schoology. That's what I'm doing, and most people are. At 7 o'clock, almost always there's a meeting for whatever type of meeting till about 7:20, and our bell rings at 7:20. At that time, I'm dashing to the restroom real quick just to make it to my room in the hallway as the lovelies come down the hallway, and it's hall duty. And if you've never seen hall duty at a middle school, you are missing out. Okay, I mean, like that. Life is like a box of chocolates. I mean, it's never boring, it's always eventful, and you've got the good, the bad, and the ugly happening, and you're embracing it all, right? I mean, my biggest thing is greeting, whether they're my students or not. I'm always in the hall welcoming, greeting. They're wanting to come up. They really, most of them are so excited to see me. They're hugging me, they're telling me stories, but then you're, putting the fires out and definitely checking the restrooms, because you do not want to know what's going on in those restrooms, because it's terrible. For the most part. So we're doing that, right? And the bell rings, and then I'm welcoming my nearly 30 students that are coming into my room as they're doing their warm-up, and you're writing passes, and you're talking to kids, and the kids that have been absent, and absences are different the past couple years, right? Absences are, I haven't seen you for a week or 2 weeks kind of absences, right? Or new students coming in. So, doing all that as the bell rings until the announcements come on. And then once the announcements come on, there are, usually right before announcements, I can always pretty much bet on that phone call, which is, I need you to sub today, Dina. Got it, because we have a plan period, right? So we have, just like a lot of the workforce, there are shortages for us, all right? So you cover your colleagues. So you go to sub. So the time that you thought you were gonna maybe have to do some things, more times than not, it is not available. So that leads to the 6 classes that I then teach in addition to an intervention. I do get a 30-minute lunch, but that's rarely if 30 minutes time you go to the bathroom, and it's usually, a lot of times is a working lunch. So there's anything and everything that you could think of that's actually happening in our classrooms. Yes, we're there to teach, right? We have our lessons we're teaching. We have the Chromebooks, great, 1-to-1. If the student has a Chromebook, if they have a charger, if it is charged, if they're on it, making sure they're focused, making sure they're not in inappropriate sites, and it's very difficult to monitor up to 30 Chromebooks. You are putting out fires with all of the academic and behavioral needs that we have. I mean, you have your everyday kid, but you have so much more trauma now. So you do have your kids that have been labeled, that have been diagnosed as ADHD, the 504s that made reference to, the IEPs, the students who are learning disabled, the autistic students, the students that have come to us from the behavior units, the students that have been diagnosed as emotionally disturbed, so forth and so on. And I make sure I speak to every kid when they come in my room. I do. Every kid. I'm also trying to have fun with them, interacting, because in my years of teaching, if you don't have a positive connection and a rapport with kids, you can forget anything else that's happening. That has got to be the priority, your interactions with these students, which makes it so much more vital and important that we want them in there compared to, unfortunately, if we have to do remote, that connection. So, there's the fire drills, there's the code reds, there's our lockdowns, there's the drug dogs, there's teachers coming, Mrs. Golden, you're the only one that she will talk to, can I watch your class while you go de-escalate? you can imagine, right? So every period is different because of the dynamic, the makeup of each class has all kinds of personalities and ranges in academic behaviors, all of it. And if everyone is there, which has never happened, I mean, I have 130 students, which has dramatically increased because of, obviously, we've had some rifts and things like that. I have my lunch at the end of the day after I've had all what's going on in my class periods. I have to my duty, and there's many things that happen in the hallways before I can get to my duties, right? And as much as you can, you're interacting positively and not trying to focus on the discipline and the behaviors, the connections, making kids want to be there. My duty is over at 3 o'clock, I come inside. I rarely, if ever, leave before 6. Rarely. Meetings, grading, parent phone calls and contacts, setting up my labs, do a lot of labs, taking them down, reorganizing, Schoology, right? Schoology. So it easily. Now I do take some time to go with my fellow colleagues. Ooh, girl, how was your day? Right? And have a little snack, So there is that little time in there. And so when I leave, I really tell you with true sincerity and honesty, there is hardly ever a day that it's less than 12 hours at the building. And many teachers are doing that same, but obviously at their homes, right? Our children are older. I only have 2 that are in the home now. They're adult. I have 4 children, 2 adult children, so 21 and 22. I don't have to run them around anymore. When I do, if I can run errands and do things, if not, I tell Nish, you better go do this because it's going to be closed, or my daughter. Most of the time, I was just telling Amy, I can't even hardly count on one hand other than the breaks we've had that I've been able to actually cook supper for my family. Because when I get home around 7 or so, we grab something, I shower, and then I usually spend 1 to 2 hours reflecting, what did I do, what could I have done better, I could have handled that situation better. I'm planning and I'm grading, and around 10:30, 11, I go to bed, right? And then I can't fall asleep. Nish can. He puts that CPAP on. He's out. I don't know. That dude can sleep. My mind is running and racing. It's running and racing. And then I get woken up many times in the middle of the night, like probably some of you as well, thinking about, right? So I'm often up before the 5:15 alarm. That is a very typical day. That is not atypical. That is not to say, whoa, look at me, look at what I'm doing, right? I went into this profession and chose it because you want to make a difference. I so enjoy kids. I go to their activities and they get so excited to see me. That's what it's all about. That's what we do, right? And so it's not to make a complaint. I'm not trying to complain because this is what I chose. But the sacrifice, the past couple years, and I'm one who stays positive all the time, on the emotional and mental toll and how my own family is sacrificing. I keep saying, you guys know. They're like, we know, Mom. And I'm like, I have to because it's 130 of them that need me, and even ones that don't have me. So that is a general day for many of us. And like I said, I'm sorry to talk so long, because time is important. But it just, we wanted to kind of give a reason or show or let you hear of our days to understand why we're requesting a little bit of time throughout the year as far as having delays for teachers to do what's on our plates. So like I said, I apologize for the length of this. My counterpart here, she is going to talk a little bit more about the elementary. And thank you all so much for listening. I appreciate it.
You guys need to keep her around.
We plan to. You're not going anywhere, right?
No, I'm a lifer.
Zach, Greg, and Nikki, congratulations and welcome to the Board of Education. Am I talking loud enough that you can hear me? Yeah. Okay. A day in the life of a first grade teacher. I will not talk as long as she. So to be honest, what I'm going to share is just yesterday. I just went back in time yesterday and just did a little like, here's Amy Baldoff's day. And yesterday was a good day. Nobody had an accident in my classroom, nobody got sick, nobody had to go home. I only had 2 kiddos absent. I had no major behavioral interruptions. Only one of my kids fell asleep in the afternoon and I didn't have to cover anybody. So yesterday was a really good day for me. My alarm goes off at 5:15 too. I'll think about you tomorrow when that happens. So 7:15, I arrive at Emerson after I drop the boys off here at the high school. And I spend time looking over my lesson plans, pull everything together, pop everything up on my screen, go to my, ongoing to-do list, all the things that need to happen. Yesterday, 3 teachers stopped by to talk to me during that time. One cried, she was just overwhelmed and needed to vent to somebody. One wanted to talk to me about some academic concerns she's having for one of her students, needed a little guidance. And one had questions about interventions. So I didn't get as much as I wanted to get done. So at 8 o'clock, when my contract day actually begins, I tried going back to that, tried to get a little bit of lesson planning done, but 3 more people came in my room. I had to collaborate with a speech therapist. I had to help someone write their professional growth plan, and then I had to talk with a colleague about a meeting later in the day. At 8:15, even though students don't come into our classroom at 8:35, one student comes into my room every day because it's too overstimulating for him to be in the gym with everyone. So he comes down and we have some one-on-one time, and that's when I focus on his behavioral interventions and supports that he needs. Also spent some time writing back to my kids in their journals, passed those out, and then here came the firsties. So now it's 8:35, my first graders are there, they check in with me, they get started with their morning routine. 8:50 is when our school day officially begins. We have a morning meeting, we have a phonics lesson, and then my kids go to their special, which is my plan time. It's a 40-minute plan, and my grade level had a brief hallway meeting to hammer a few things out, made a couple of quick decisions, and then I tried to get back to lesson planning. But my parents know when my plan time is, and 2 of them contacted me yesterday. So by the time I talked with them, my plan was over. At 10:40, my students are back in the classroom. We have a snack, we have a reading lesson, we do an energizer, we have a writing lesson and number corner. Before we go to lunch at noon. Noon to 12:35 is my lunch. Yesterday, I made 2 phone calls to parents during that time. I went to talk with another teacher, and I met with 3 students. At 12:35, kiddos are back in the classroom. We do a read aloud, we have another energizer and a math lesson. And then at 2, we go outside for our second recess. I had duty, so I'm out there with them. Had a fire drill during recess, which was fun to watch that happen. 2:15, we're back inside. We do a cleanup, check mailboxes, get backpacks, and then first grade intervention begins. During intervention, I teach 2 different groups. Then we go into reading groups. Students who are not in a group are working in centers or they have alternate materials. Squeak in a little bit of science and social studies time, and then we head to our closing meeting. Now, the reason that I broke down every subject like that is because I want you to understand and hear that every part of the day, I'm planning for it with purpose and intention. It's not just, it's time for math. That hour math lesson that we have took 2 hours to get ready for. So dismissal time begins at 3:40. After my first 2 groups left, I sent the rest of them to another classroom because I had to get out to bus duty. I left bus duty a little early yesterday because I had to get to the board office for a meeting. Found out during the meeting that we're going to be remote today. That's when my phone started blowing up from parents with all of their questions, of course. So my contract day ends at 4. I left the board office last night at 6. When I got home, my family had already eaten. When Dina shared her cooking dinner story, I have to share Jonah, My 6th grader asked me just before Christmas, Mom, do you think during Christmas break you maybe will start cooking dinner again? So they already ate dinner and they took off, so I started with answering parents, making a new plan for today. How am I going to engage my kiddos remotely? Did my nighttime schoolwork, and my husband and I have a rule that if my Chromebook or materials are still in my lap at 8, he has permission to take them away from me. So he did. That's a day in the life of a 1st grade teacher. So if you're wondering why we need the time that's presented to you in the calendar, anytime when you're looking at this proposal, you see a remote learning day, an early release, a day-to-day, a late start on the calendar, here's what might be happening during those times. Data is the new focus, or it's not a new focus, but it is a focus of our new teacher evaluation that is heavier in data than it was before. So teachers need time to analyze the data. You would probably find them planning instructions, strategies, and interventions based on the data, not just trying to scrape by. And keep in mind that when I speak of data, I'm not just talking academics, I'm talking about the social and emotional needs as well. It takes time to plan for the social and emotional needs that our kiddos are experiencing. Teachers will be collaborating with colleagues. They'll be putting behavioral support strategies in place. They need time to collaborate at multiple levels within the district, not just the teacher-based teams, but building level teams and district level teams. Teachers are differentiating. We are trying to meet the needs of all of our students who have experienced trauma, our students who have missed so many days of school that they actually need a plan B in the classroom because they're so far behind everyone else with time spent in the room. Students who are new to our district. We're planning for students who have disabilities and students who are academically advanced. With this extra time, teachers will be focusing on positive behavior intervention strategies. They'll be participating in teacher-based teams, building level teams. They'll be working on plans and documentations for students with disabilities. Teachers will be connecting with families, phone calls, in-person meetings. Time is the most valuable resource we have right now. So when it comes to adopting the calendar, I ask you, please do not choose an option that would take time away from teachers. Thank you.
I think, the last thing, we just, in closing, we just really want you to know that we are dedicated and do this for the kids. And 7 to 3, there's no way possible, right? You would get hardly anything. And we strive to be effective and want to be effective and want to have surrounding communities look to us and be proud. We love and take care of so many kids. My own went through it, like I told you before. And we do that with open arms, really, for the most of us, we do. But we need your help. We do. We're just asking that someone can help us for once. And it's only 8 hours. It's not even remotely what we really need. But we were hoping we could start somewhere. Thank you.
Please.
Can you read me?
Yes.
You may need to repeat this, but I'm only working about 70% brain power right now.
Mm-hmm.
But didn't we do this in the past?
And the question is, didn't we do this in the past? To which the answer is, we had more early releases. So yes, we did build in more time in the past, yes.
Can I say something just? And what we had in the past, Bob, a lot of those early releases were PD. And while I believe professional development is important, we are asking for time that requires no meetings. There will not be an agenda that, okay, you're going, teacher-based meetings, yes, collaboration, yes, but no training, no, this 2 hours is for you to work with your team for kids, not the training that the other days were.
So, the only downside that I see, what happens to parents that have to adjust their schedule, but then this is really no different than a 2-hour delay.
So, can you all hear me okay? Okay. So just so you know, a lot of deliberation goes into the conversations and dialogue around calendar because quite honestly, the 8 hours is a small ask. It could easily be on a weekly or, bi-monthly basis, easily, without a doubt. And so we also, though, recognize that this could pose a lot of challenges and struggles for our families. And so, we definitely take that into consideration. And so that's why the sooner we can get this in place, the more planning we can allow our families, myself included, and like Amy, and so yeah. So we're in that boat too as parents and as district staff.
And this is option 2.
So-
Actually, I think it's option 3.
2 and 3.
I'm sorry, 2 and 3, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Option 1 doesn't have it.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Correct. No, you're fine.
I have a question.
Yes.
I know in the past, we have professional development and agenda, we had meetings, we never got to work in our rooms.
Yeah.
Okay, and I know the need for this. But can you guarantee that someone is going to make sure these teachers use that time wisely? I know 98% of teachers will,
Yes.
but I want to make sure that everyone is using it wisely.
Yes. There will be clear expectations set, explicit. There will be, this also affords our administrators time to just pop in and just see how everyone's doing. When they're not also, because of sickness, when they're not also, cleaning the buildings, and our teachers also have had to, clean their own rooms, and it's just, we don't see this getting better anytime soon. While we'd like to be optimistic, it's just us learning how to form what we do and change the landscape of what it looks like for us. So that's, that's what we're trying to do in order to meet the needs as best we can for our staff so that they can meet the needs of our kids and our families.
So, Dina kind of touched on it. The teacher evaluation system had changed about, 8 years ago. It was much more in depth. Well, now it's changed again, and it's called OTES 2.0. And OTES stands for Ohio Teachers Evaluation System. We love our icon, our acronyms in education, but it is heavily weighted in data. The new system is, and Dina actually kind of touched on it. I asked the teachers to come to present because I knew that I could tell you these things, but you would not get the emotion and almost the desperateness of their request. You wouldn't have gotten that from me, which is why I asked them to come so you could hear them. I wholeheartedly agree that we need to give these folks some extra time. The amount, these 2 hours on these 4 or 5 days is just a reprieve for them to be able to have some of those TBT meetings, to be able to have, look at their data. It's really necessary. And this one, when we talked about what the students would be doing during the time, that this would be remote time for them. And one of the things that we really wanted to hit hard was we wanted to hit a lot of social and emotional learning lessons that they could be doing during this time, that they would be responsible to have to do. And because, again, with everything that's happened in the last 2 years, they're needing more time to be able to do those kinds of things that we can't fit into a regular school day. We just can't get it in there. So that's the reason why we put this out there. So it's not just for the teachers, but it's also for the students to give them some other things that they can be able to do that's going to help them along the way. Can I just say anything?
I didn't know if anyone had questions for us, because we did talk a long time, we're sorry, but obviously if you did have questions, we would be more than happy to answer.
Yeah, how much have things changed? Say 5 years ago to today, with what your day looks like?
How much have things changed over the past, what we talked about earlier? Over the past, yeah, 5 years. Pre-pandemic versus now. Additional.
You and we'll tandem and add. One of the biggest things that has changed, in my perspective, are the social emotional needs. And that can't be taken lightly, because these kids, they need more than academics right now. It's causing more behaviors, more time away from academics to help them get through a school day. That's one of my biggest changes when people ask me that question. But there's also just expectations, just more on the plate. We don't have a plate full, we have a serving platter full, and the expectations just keep getting loaded and loaded and loaded with no time to do it. Dina, you need to get this done, but I'm not gonna give you any time to do it. So
I want to just jump in and say, I believe in the past, especially few years, although we do our best and did our best because I was a remote teacher as well, getting those students back, you may have heard of a summer slide, the gaps now, if we want to talk academics, the gaps are so much greater. The gaps are so much greater. With the, COVID and the deaths and the much more trauma and people losing their jobs and you can see if you read things, statistics on domestic violence, right? I mean, those things that are happening that our kids have always been exposed to, but even more so. And so the social and emotional, like she said, is much greater need to where a high school, an amazing high school teacher who had surgery today said yesterday, Sarah Olding, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but high schoolers, I am finding myself having to teach them basic social skills, like how to listen,
how to have a conversation.
And she felt like ridiculous saying it, how to have a conversation. These students have spent so much screen time and alone time that a lot of the primary focus is conflict resolution and problem solving and just talking to the person next to them without blowing up in their face. And the behaviors, you always have behaviors. And no matter that, you guys were in school, right? I can't speak to first grade, but I know, especially middle school with the hormones, but the behaviors of what is you typically see of the ages have been so exasperated and over the top, out of control. And so when you're trying to get control of that has to come first in a safe environment and forging a connection, then the academics come in. And so that has been a very, very big shift.
And Dina mentioned the gap. 5 years ago, I was differentiating in my classroom, but it was more, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? With a couple of exceptionalities. Because of this gap, thank you, COVID. What do you need? What do you need? What do you need? What do you need? Everybody requires a different lesson plan for math, for reading, for the social emotional needs. Because where were you for your instruction? Were you remote or are you in person? When we were remote, when the whole world shut down, did you participate in school or did you take 3 months off? We are seeing big gaps, large gaps, and you have to look at the data to figure out where are the gaps, where are the missing skills, where are the deficiencies, how can I fill in the holes, what does that intervention look like?
But in the meantime, though,
But when-
also looking at the students who have been coming to school or did a really, good job on remote and have the parents who are there supporting them, the ones that they seem like they're on track, so you make sure that you don't leave them out, because sometimes the really well-behaved student who's doing well enough, it seems like, oh, my attention and efforts have to go to putting out the fires. It's like whack-a-mole sometimes. And I don't mean to, I'm not sucking up or anything, but Colton Dickman is one of those kids. I didn't have your daughter. Colton Dickman was amazing in class, okay, legitimately. He is, but you have to make sure that you give the attention to them, because those silent ones, you really don't know, because they have the appearance. Okay, I've got some good parents and I'm doing stuff, but am I growing them enough? Are they okay? Right, which is finding the balance. And so the discrepancy of the balance has widened so much more. It used to be, here to here, and I feel frustrated, you can do it. But when we say totally ends of the spectrum and everything in between, it used to not be as spread as it is now, behaviorally, emotionally, academically, across the board.
And I'll just say quickly, as a district 5 years ago, if I wanted to pull grade level teachers together to collaborate, and we knocked some stuff out. Like, it was amazing what came out of that time together one day in a room. We had subs. I can't do that anymore. My team can't do that because we don't have enough subs, and even if we did, Dina couldn't attend because Dina's covering somebody else. Because it's exasperated right now.
When you guys get a day like today, where you get a remote day, do you almost feel like you get to take a breath on a day like today?
I did. I woke up this morning and I took a breath, literally.
So going back
I mean,
like
I really-
Thanksgiving week, when you guys had those days, did you feel like, it was kind of like a release, those couple days?
It was, and I'll tell you what else I told Brooke. I still got there at my normal 6 o'clock. As people start filtering in, I heard, there was laughter in the hallway of the adults. There was people coming in and smiling and actually, conversing about a little bit personal before they went to, really get down to business. And Carmen passed my room, Carmen Heights, and she's like, oh, yes! And she's like, I know we need to be here with the kids. I know it, because it's a very difficult thing for us to say, because we don't want to say, we don't want your kids coming, we want these, right? We want them there, it's what's the best, but we've never ever, this is literally the definition of unprecedented, and many of us were like, thank you, Jesus, for this just a little bit. Now, we worked, we met, we graded, I messaged, school messaged multiple kids on, they asked me questions about the projects and the upcoming tests. So we still did, this was no, I'm sitting around and I'm just gonna, shoot it with my neighbor today. But it was such, you could literally see it leave the bodies of many people. And that's what it should be, a school should be like that all the time. And we try so hard to make sure we're that in front of the kids. But we are people too who are sacrificing about everything nowadays. So it was a lot of breaths, literal, when we say breaths, literal.
For the board members, volunteer at Emerson and Longfellow. And then last year, I talked to the teachers, and of course, we understood last year with the pandemic and everything. But this year, I was expecting them to say, it's better, and they're like, it's worse. And I think it's what Amy said, it's snowballing. The gap's getting bigger, and emotionally, it's hard on the kids, but it's just tearing these teachers, well, all employees apart. The stress level is just something else, and my heart goes out to them. And so whatever we can do as a board, I sure hope we do something to help the situation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
guys.
your time.
Thank you all so much. Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
So Bob, could you summarize quickly the differences between options 1, 2, and 3?
Yeah.
And could you repeat my question?
Bob's question to Bob was, for, almost to summarize the three proposals, counter proposals we had for us.
So the first calendar, it has no late starts in it at all, option one. And it's the basic same type of calendar that we have this year, for the most part. The only difference is we did add a remote day for a teacher retreat, because that did come up in the past of wanting the teachers to have a retreat, so we had put that in November, so that November 21st would be that. The next one is basically the same calendar, but it had the 2-hour early releases in them with the same number of days. And then option 3, I believe, trying to get back to it. Option 3 was the retreat day and adding the date to the calendar. As of now, we actually, the first two did not have 2 work days at the end of the year like we've had. We took one of those work days and made it the retreat day. And the third calendar has the early releases, but with an extra day added onto the teacher's actual calendar. And we talked about, I could run some numbers on there, and it was gonna cost the district about an extra 90 to 100,000 on that.
And just to be clear, as I'm reading this, looking at the proposals, the only change in total days throughout the year would be 1 extra day for teachers in proposal 3. So it's not like we're giving the teachers 8 days off.
No, absolutely
We're
not.
not making the kids stay home 8 extra days.
Yeah.
All the actual instruction days and the cumulative numbers throughout the year actually only change in proposal 3, which would enact these days that are being requested, correct? That would add an additional day for teachers.
That's correct. I can tell you that the teachers prefer to have the 2 days at the end of the year. And I will tell you that it was not a very warm reception for a retreat day. Is that fair to say?
Fair, very fair.
Very fair, she says.
They really don't. But I know that that was brought up in a previous discussion, but I just wanted to let you know what they thought.
If we didn't have the retreat, then they would still have the days at the end.
Yes, that's correct.
The question was, if we didn't have the retreat, they would still have those in-session days at the end.
Correct. So that would be, yes, so that would be, is that the,
It'd be proposal 2.
yeah, that would be proposal 2 without the retreat day and putting that on the end. Actually, that's probably the 4th calendar we probably should have had on there. I think that was the one we didn't actually have, yes.
Thank you.
Proposal 2 has the 2-hour early releases. No retreat day.
Late starts, aren't they?
It's late start.
Yeah, the late starts.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, a couple of years ago, we did do a survey with parents. They don't like late starts and they don't like early releases, but they hate early releases a lot more than they hate late starts. Yeah, they hate early releases.
So as I understand it, there's no action being assigned, this is information for us to consider.
Correct.
Put on the agenda for February meeting for us to decide.
That's correct.
Anything else before we move on? Very good discussion, appreciate your time and coming and sharing your day-to-days with you. I don't envy by any means. So moving on to treasury report, Mike.
Yes, thank you. First item A, I'd like to request a motion to approve minutes, financial reports, and invoices paid as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, invoices paid and right to report, we have a motion, a second, any further discussion?
I would just give, if you have any, I always want to know if you have any general discussion of the information that you receive. And typically just give a kind of a brief overview of financial narrative, anything pertinent that I think everybody needs to know. This week, brief tonight, we are halfway through the fiscal year. And on the revenue side, really very little to speak of. New tax collections, we don't happen twice a year, so there's nothing there. And the new foundation formula, the funding formula, still was not in place from ODE. I did see that the first payment of January, they finally had in place. So we will really begin to see the impact of the new funding plan beginning in January. At this point, through the first 6 months, it really wasn't an accurate depiction of what our funding from the state looked like. Past that, all of the things that I'm comfortable with in the revenues, so we move on to the expenditures. And on the expenditure side, as we've been now for several months, salary benefits, purchase services, supplies and materials, capital outlay, all performing better than we had originally budgeted. And the only item that's behind is our miscellaneous, and it's behind by $1,000. So basically it's on those. So very comfortable, very pleased where we are 6 months in.
Since supplies and materials are doing okay, can we look at toner?
The question is, since supplies and materials are doing well, can we look at the toner situation?
Great question. And believe me, I think you're looking at our every single day. We're finding, we cannot find it.
It's not a cost issue, it's a, we can't find it.
Production.
Cannot find it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Any other highlights to note?
Nope.
Any questions, for further discussion? All right, we've got a motion, second, without further discussion, we're ready to vote.
Dickman,
Yes.
New,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bossa,
Yes.
motion carries. And only other item for this evening, is the security officer. I'd like to request a motion to enter into an agreement with Deputy Mike Grill to replace Deputy John Linder as the security officer for Northwood Intermediate School for the 2021-2022 school year at a rate of $18 per hour effective January 10th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Smith and give it a slide. And just briefly, Deputy Linder needed to step away from some family issues. So, and we work closely with the sheriff's department, we get replacements. And so, Sheriff Fry recommended Michael Grill.
I'm happy to see that.
He was one of our teachers.
Pardon me?
He was one of our teachers.
Yeah,
We're always lucky to have him.
yes, very good.
Second, now we have a motion, second, any further discussion? We're ready to vote.
Smith,
Yes.
Lot,
Yes.
New,
Yes.
Dickman,
Yes.
Bossa,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, moving on to the superintendent's report.
Request a motion to approve the presented personnel items, and pending proper certification and paperwork as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Having taken a look at the list, any further discussion or questions? Ms. Burton, to summarize quickly the names on the personnel.
If you'd like to do that, but I will tell you that in the future, if we do that, it's really gonna go long. If this is, if you like,
Every contract.
yeah, so generally, it's up to you on how you wanna do it, but instead of reading all the names, because again, if we do this in May, it's gonna go really long.
So the board members have the names, as Carl was saying, any questions, any more objections? Okay, no further discussion, bring to a vote.
Lott,
Yes.
Dickman,
Yes.
New,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bosler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next, a request a motion to approve the students for graduation with the class of 2022, pending completion of all state and local requirements. I'll just go ahead and say what Bob was going to say, and that is, if we don't approve them, they're going to graduate anyway. That is correct.
So moved.
Second.
Greg motions, Nikki seconds, any further discussion? They're roughly looking at about counting about 13 to 16 names. No further discussion, we're ready to vote.
Dickman,
Yes.
New,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Lott,
Yes.
Bosler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to Upper Valley Career Center reports.
Hopefully my voice will hold out. As of, at 5:30 on December 14th, the Career Center board members were treated to an excellent dinner prepared by the culinary arts students and instructors. Following the dinner, the regular board meeting was called to order. Mr. Hawk gave the superintendent's message. He gave a brief summary of the National FFA Convention. He mentioned that 3 students were local winners of the Americanism and Government test. He mentioned that a student at the Upper Valley Career Center received the 2021 Director's Choice Award in the Interactive Media Program for Amy Newcomer. Another highlight was the Skills USA chapter participated in Operation Christmas Child and were able to package 84 boxes that were filled with toys and supplies. These boxes are shipped to needy families around the world. Mr. Hawk mentioned that a junior at Troy High School and the Career Center was awarded a $10,000 college scholarship from the Ohio Department of Health and Ohio Lottery Backs to School program. Finally, he mentioned that Jackson Center SCCLA had been awarded $1,000 from the Ohio Department of Public Safety to complete a Families Acting for Community Traffic Safety project. Mr. Matt Meyer gave a report on Explore Careers Day. He explained that all sophomores are invited to come to the campus and learn about the programs at the Career Center. Mr. Meyer called the school counselors phenomenal for advising students on which school or program is best for them. As of December 14th, the Career Center has 715 applications for enrollment from the sophomore class. Because of the high interest in the Career Center, Mr. Hawk and the administrative team need to address the need for more space. He said that is a good problem. Mr. Freeland gave his treasurer's report. The highlight of this report was that the audit is complete and there were no findings. It was a clean audit. And finally, the board also approved a 3% increase on the base salary for the 2022-2023 contract.
Thank you. Any further questions on that report? Moving on, executive session. Is there any reason why the board should move into executive session? No. Okay. If none, we will move on to adjournment. If anyone feels the need to motion to adjourn, I would entertain that motion. All right, we have a motion, a second, any further discussion? With none, we're ready to vote.
Lott,
Yes.
New, Dickman,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Bosler.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, everybody.
Yes, yes, gotta hang on, Tiffany's gonna get a picture. Tiffany will let you